On the topic of Liverpool, I'm just going to throw this one out here. I think the last episode, Derek, you mentioned that Man City have pretty much all but given up on the league. And for that reason, we might find them concentrating more on the Champions League. And we might find there's going to be a bit more, well, a hell of a lot more Pep rotation than usual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It occurred to me that once Liverpool have the league sewn up, they might take a similar approach. So our Liverpool assets, they may only be good for like the next 5 or 6 game weeks. And that once they've mathematically got that title in the bag, Klopp might think, right, time to save Salah, Mane, Trent and Robertson for the Champions League. And then he'll play his much-lauded kids.
Oh, yeah.
Got you so excited, James.
Once Klopp knows that the league is basically in one hand, he's going to start doing a lot of rotation and resting. He won't be playing both Salah and Mane. He probably be just playing one of them. Also, Lovren... You might do. Lovren is back in training, so Lovren is probably going to be coming in for Van Dijk, or he might be coming in for Gomez. Milner always comes in as a fullback, so either Robbo or Trent will be rested. And also, Klein is back now as well in training, so he's going to rotate the whole team. So people are going to be, when they've got 3 Liverpool players, none of them play.
I heard that Matip is making it back onto the field as well.
Oh, there you go. Another person.
And, you know, if I were Klopp and I wanted to manage my squad well, I'd be giving more games to Shaqiri and Origi too.
Yeah.
You need to get them playing because you never know what's going to happen. You know, if you get an injury, they need to be like match fit. They need to be on good form, ready to go, scoring, running, doing the gegenpressing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's just something to look out for, basically.
I don't think the league is over by any means.
Oh, be quiet. The state. Oh, honestly.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 16 of FPL Bros. We are recording on Monday, 30th of January. So happy New Year to everybody. And previewing Gameweek 23, also having a quick look over what's happened between now and New Year's Day. How are we doing, guys?
Not bad.
Good. Very good.
Good Christmas and New Year. Well, good New Year, really, I suppose.
Yeah, it's been a nice little break. And yeah, we've had quite a few games in between as well. So got quite a few bits to talk about as well today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so before we get started, we just need to have a minute silence for James' team. For what was James's team? Because I'm looking here, I think over the past 2 game weeks, you managed to put in, 50 points altogether, if that.
Considering I haven't done my team for 2 game weeks, I really haven't dropped off that much. It's crazy. I thought I'd have dropped off so much, but still, I'm not even that far.
It's nothing. It's desperate, man. That's what I'm going to say. It's desperate.
It's not even that bad. I thought it'd be worse than this. This is all right. I can come back easily.
No chance. Okay. You wouldn't even make Europa.
I will.
No, I'm dying. Stop.
I'm only 100 points away from Europa. Simple. I'm 100 points away. I'm 100 points away from Champions League. Under 100. I can do that so easily.
Right, okay. So who's going to get you there? Nathan Aki? Aubameyang?
When Aubameyang suspension, you can get me there if he wants to.
Tyrone Mings is going to get you to Champions League.
Oh, yeah. They all will.
Okay. So, yeah, do you want to take us through your team, despite the fact you didn't actually do anything?
Nope. I don't need to take you through my team. My team is just too... Right, I haven't done anything to my team. It's exactly the same as the last time we were on the show.
So, Derek, do you want to go next, or shall I?
You go.
All right, then. So, game week 21, I managed 56 points, which wasn't too bad. I had Salah in my team, and, he got the captaincy because Vardy didn't turn up. For whatever reason, Brendan Rodgers said he had a slight, was it calf? or whatever.
Yeah, calf injury.
Yeah, I remember everybody was getting really excited that particular game week because his wife had just given birth, and they all said, "Oh, yeah, he's going to do the baby celebration." And I was thinking, actually, no, he might be really tired. He might be one of those hands-on new fathers. I thought to myself that it might be the opposite, actually, because, sometimes when you become a new father, some things just become more important than the others. Plenty of footballers become fathers and they don't score anyway. But that's another thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't know about the baby thing, to be fair.
Right.
Leicester and Newcastle, and that was it for me.
Okay. Yeah, so that wasn't too bad. And then following game week, that went slightly better. I got 61 points again. I think Rashford was the one who did it for me, although it didn't hurt having De Bruyne and probably Foster as well. I don't think many people have Foster, but I do. So, yeah, I want to get on to him and Watford a bit later on. So, not bad at all. Could be worse. Again, if you get a green arrow, you shouldn't really be complaining. At least I don't, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Derek?
So, yeah, obviously, I got stuffed by Vardy not playing in game week 21. However, I did have Mane as my vice captain, so that kind of worked out well. Grealish did well for me as well. He got a nice little 13-pointer for me, so I was quite happy with that. My patience run thin with Aurier that game week, so I took him out and brought in Holgate, who brought me 7 points the following game week, so I was really happy with that. Captain-wise, I was indecisive between De Bruyne and Vardy because I knew Norwich, who concede goals like anything, would definitely take a battering from City. But because Vardy was the most popular captain option, in my opinion, I went with him, and I kind of regret it now. But lessons learned, and yeah, it wasn't too bad of a week. I ended up with 56 points. My defence done well, my midfield done okay, and my strikers, I wasn't really too happy. So I might need to reevaluate my team again. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, it's getting pretty tight at the top up there. I think that boy Chris Lofoon, he just came out of nowhere, didn't he?
Yeah.
Lucky. Remember last season, he started 1 week late, and he's like, "I'm gonna catch up. I'm not gonna finish last." And I don't think he finished last. I think he beat me.
And in fact, he started a lot later than 1 week late. I think he missed like 2 or 3 game weeks, or even 4. And he was like, "Oh, I don't want to take part." And he was like, "Oh no, it'll be fine." And it was, he actually did quite well. So yeah, he's one to look out for in the Originals League. Anyway, yeah, if there was any major talking points, one I certainly wanted to start on in terms of the matches that just went. Southampton versus Leicester, that was an interesting one, or rather Leicester versus Southampton, I should say, because I think that was at the King Power. Apparently, in that game, Vardy had 0 shots. Yeah, and Danny Ings had 9.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just imagine.
I refuse to buy Ings still because they don't look like they've got good fixtures. And I think if they fall in the relegation zone due to bad form over the next couple of games, it could get really peak for them. But he keeps defying logic and scoring, so I don't know what to do now.
It's a tough one. James, have you got any opinion on Danny Ings at all?
Wow. That's all I got to say. I wish I bought him a long time ago. He's a very stable guy. I feel like he's scoring goals all the time. I feel like right now with my striker problem, he might be the one to place one of my guys. But I just need to see what Southampton's fixtures are first before I make any decisions.
Fair enough. Having said that, though, he's scored like in 10 straight games, and it doesn't seem to matter who the opposition is, home or away. Yeah, he's doing it. And the thing about Ings is that I think he pulled the wool over all of our eyes. I was reluctant to get him in because of his injury record. And I remember Hasenhüttl actually saying, "Oh, I don't want to play him like 3 times in a week." And then he went and played him 3 times in a week. I can't believe I fell for that. And actually, do you know what's interesting? Last season, I got really excited about getting Ings in because, I'm not sure if he's still a Liverpool player, but he went out of loan from Liverpool to Southampton last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Southampton may have actually paid for him. I'm not sure. I think they have. But anyway, what he said at the time is that he'd made a bet with Salah over who was going to score the most goals that season. Right now, to be honest, I didn't think he'd beat Salah in that bet, but I thought that the fact that he had a bet on would really motivate him to score a lot of goals. So I got him in just on the basis of that stupid bet. and he didn't do much for me at all. But he looks like what he said he would do last season, he's actually doing this season.
Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe it's just because he's got less competition and just like more free space as well. Like in Liverpool, when you're playing with Salah, Firmino and stuff, like not free space. Sorry, that's not the word I want. Like he's got more freedom. Sorry, that's it. Freedom to play how he wants.
Yeah,
Whereas
he's
Liverpool,
got more
you have
of a
to play
freer
certain
role.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, a freer role, I think. Yeah. So some players get that. I remember, I think Berbatov, when he was at Manchester United, pretty much had a free role. But
Berbatov had a free role more when he was at Spurs.
He had a free role when he was at Spurs as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's when he had a free role. I feel like at Man United, he was forced to like put in a bit more effort than he usually does. And Berbatov is one of those strikers that he plays like he doesn't care. And that playing like he doesn't care, it gives him his expression. So when he was at Man United and he was pressing, it kind of ruined his game.
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, he still scored important goals for them. Also, what I wanted to say is that I remember saying after Leicester thrashed Southampton that Southampton were actually that bad and that result was not a reflection of how good they were as a team. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I would just like to point to that result, as evidence of why I said that. Southampton generally are quite good, and Hazelhout is a good manager. I mean, they're not going to be blowing anybody's socks away, but I didn't really think they were, definite candidates for relegation. And the way things are going right now, it's looking like they might get out of it. I mean, they're not as bad as Norwich. They're probably not as bad as Aston Villa. And at the moment, Bournemouth are terrible. So they should be feeling quite comfortable at the moment.
Yeah, I think Watford and Southampton are going to be feeling quite confident now in their ability to stay out of the relegation.
They should.
The thing is, like at the start of the season, we were saying the whipping boys were Watford and Southampton. We were saying Watford and Southampton are the whipping boys. And look at them now.
I never said Southampton were whipping boys. You may have said it, but not me.
When they lost 9-0, I was almost certain they were whipping boys.
Yeah, I wasn't. And I just said, I told you, they were not that bad. That was a freak result because literally every time Leicester attacked and shot a goal, they scored. And I knew Southampton were not that bad. Anyway.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
If we're going on to the subject of Watford, obviously they had a very good Christmas. I think only Liverpool played better than them over the Christmas and New Year's fixtures, apparently.
Wow.
In terms of results.
Pistons the truth then, yeah?
Pardon?
Pistons the truth then, yeah?
This game's about results. I think he's shown it, hasn't he?
He really has.
To be fair,
the thing is, lost them. So that means his son almost ruined his career.
He ruined his career at Leicester, sure. But I think people always knew that he had something to offer. I certainly did anyway. It was obvious for me the way he turned Leicester around.
He's done a terrific job.
Yeah. But I just wanted to say, obviously they played well against Wolves, won that one 2-1. But I watched the whole of Watford's game against Bournemouth. And although Bournemouth were terrible, I think a lot of it had to do with how good Watford were. And what really impressed me about Watford was their defending. Bournemouth never, ever, ever really looked like scoring in that game. The only chance they had of even having a sniff at goal was that free kick from Wilson, which they got on target.
Yeah,
it turned out to be a shot on. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, in terms of teams which are in good form, definitely Southampton and also obviously Watford. Teams which are in bad form, who can we mention?
Bournemouth.
Yeah, 100%.
That's frightening what's happening to them.
But Bournemouth are in terrible form. I was also thinking Newcastle.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I don't know. I mean, I still think that Newcastle can still surprise people every now and again.
Yeah, but when's the last time they won?
I don't know.
I mean, they Palace in Gameweek 18. Since then, they've lost all their games.
Well, they had Leicester. They were never going to win that one, were they?
Actually, a draw against Wolves, but...
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the thing about Newcastle is that I don't think they're going to get rolled over, even though Leicester did roll them over. Was it 5-0? But then they were down to 10 men. I don't know. I'm not quite there yet to say that Newcastle are in bad form.
Yeah. I still think when you play them, when they're playing at home, anything can happen. It doesn't matter what team you are. If you sleep, they'll beat you.
Absolutely. That's one of the things.
Is it still worth looking at Brighton defenders?
Oof.
That's a bit out of nowhere. Why Brighton? Why their defenders?
Well, Brighton were the ones that people are looking at Ryan as a keeper because he made quite a few saves and they had a fairly decent defence. So Brighton defence was one to go to, especially with the attacking potential of Duffy. But looking at Brighton, they haven't really kept a clean sheet except against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a hint. That was a glimpse of, actually, Brighton, the one to go to. But that's what I'm saying. Is it worth it still? Like, because they've had not easy fixtures. They've had Spurs and Everton. So the next fixture they've got is Villa. And then they've got Bournemouth again. Then they've got West Ham. So thinking about those three, those are not three teams which Brighton would probably struggle to keep a clean sheet again. So is it worth looking at Brighton defenders, or is it definitely a no-no, do you think? I think it's good value for money.
Well, okay. I mean, Ryan is certainly good value for money because he's one of the few decent goalkeepers out there you can still get for less than 5 million.
Yeah.
So on that basis, he's definitely worth a look. Dunk, occasionally, he does give you a decent score. But the problem I have with Brighton is this. First of all, Potter, part of the reason they got him in is because apparently he's the polar opposite of Chris Hughton, who like to play a very organised, tight defensive team. And so, on the one hand, Brighton weren't really getting stuff while he was manager, but on the other hand, they weren't blowing people away and they weren't scoring lots of goals. Potter goes for it. And for that reason, I think Brighton are a bit more weaker at the back because there's a lot more emphasis of attack under him. The second problem I have with Brighton is that Potter rotates a heck of a lot. Last season, Duffy was like one of the first names on the team sheet. Now he hardly ever plays. You've got Dunk, and then goodness knows who else is in that defence. Just changes all the flipping time. We've got enough to worry about with rotation with Pep Roulette and all the other managers who like to rotate. And then with a team who are sort of mid-table, you don't want to be shelling out for the defenders and not knowing whether they're going to play either as well.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And but then I'm a miserable me. I don't know, James, what do you think?
At this moment in time, I'll be honest with you, teams like Brighton, I just couldn't tell you about their defence. I couldn't. I wouldn't buy a Brighton defender unless I saw Brighton getting a lot of clean sheets, and I don't think they do unless it's against like a bad team.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is too much of a risk. The defenders that I would go for that get clean sheets, just to be honest with you, it's Liverpool, because Liverpool defenders are going to get you clean sheets. Right now, Alisson has got more clean sheets than he's conceded goals.
Right.
So that just says it all, really, for me.
So you're going to bring Alisson in then, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. Get Liverpool defenders. As simple as that.
I think Liverpool defenders are quite expensive, and there is rotation that's going to be happening. So unless it was Alexander-Arnold or Robbo, I wouldn't buy them. Even so, I still think they're expensive. A lot of people have Trent, and I'm really scared when they play. I'm literally hiding behind my sofa every single game, hoping he doesn't get a mad assist like he did. But so far it's been good. He hasn't done that.
It's a trip. Because I just noticed that you don't have any Liverpool defence, and they're on their 5th clean sheet in a row now.
But I've got my 3, I've got my Leicester defender, I've got my 2 Everton defenders who are giving me points, and I've got Lundstrom. So I don't need to pay 7 mil for a Liverpool defender who's just going to give me 6 points.
Although I have to say, the Leicester defence does worry me because they conceded a heck of a lot of shots against Southampton. Like I said, Ings on his own had 9 shots. Just imagine, they may have peaked. I think perhaps that result against Liverpool knocked the stuffing out of them a little bit. Although, to be fair, they did play well against Newcastle. Still, having said that, I have to keep reminding myself, Leicester don't have Europe to worry about, and a lot of the other bigger teams do. So
Wolves have Europe to worry about.
Yeah. Plus, I think Leicester are out of... I don't know if they're out of the FA Cup, but they're certainly out of the League Cup as well, aren't they? It's just Man United, Man City, Aston Villa, and who else is left in the League Cup? Because they're on the semi-finals now. See, there I go. I was asking a really difficult question.
I don't know. I'm not keeping up with the League Cup.
The League Cup is Aston Villa and Leicester, and the other one is Man City.
Oh, snap. Leicester are still in the League Cup. Okay.
Man City United, Man City United. So those 4.
Well,
Man City United.
Yeah, okay then.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
Okay, so Arsenal, they've got the new manager. There's obviously been a change to the way they play. Whether it's quite clicking yet is another question. So, yeah, do they have players worth picking up?
Ooh.
Not in my opinion.
No one. Not a single one. Not a single one, I'll be honest with you. Now Aubameyang's been sent off. Nah.
Derek?
No, in my opinion.
Wow. Okay. The thing is, though, Arsenal are conceding a lot less shots under Arteta than they were before. And I think that they're capable of keeping clean sheets now. Obviously, Leno is still a good keeper. And David Luiz, when he's good, he's really good. Obviously, I don't know about Socrates, quite frankly. But everybody's working now to defend. They're all putting a shift in, even Ozil. You can't tell me that you didn't see Ozil putting a shift in the last couple of games he's been playing defensively. Well, I mean, when does he ever do that?
He is. I agree, he is. But the thing is, the confidence in the team just isn't at a level where you can trust them to do anything. Like, the way Pepe is playing, I just feel like he needs to get his mum to get on a pitch and give him a hug. As all of them, they just seem very... Lacazette seems like he's lost the wind from underneath his wings. And Aubameyang gets sent off. So it's just like, where do we go from here?
I think from game week 26 onwards,
Yeah.
it'll be worth maybe looking at some of the Arsenal assets because they've got a really good run of fixtures. Bar City, they've got like about 7, 8 games which they will score goals in. So attacking wise, it's probably worth looking at one or two people.
Okay.
But defensively, I don't think Arsenal can be trusted. And it's when you've got other options out there, you don't.
True. You're still paying a bit for defenders. I mean, I still think Tierney's a look when he gets his place back. And Kolasinac, certainly, when he first came to Arsenal, he was playing more like a left winger than a left back. I think he still does that, and he's got a decent shot on him.
Yeah.
The way they were working so hard in the last couple of games, and the fact that Arteta, it's amazing, isn't it? I think it was the game against Man United that they said, "Oh, what did you say to them?" They said, "Oh, I just shouted at them half time." So basically, what Arteta did is what everybody on Arsenal Fan TV has been doing for the past 10 years. So basically, Troops or one of those guys could have just been the Arsenal manager. just shout and swear at them, which is pretty much what Arsenal fans do when it's half-time during any Arsenal game. Oh, great, you got them to play properly. That's all it took, a bit of swearing. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that he's got them working harder. And I think hard work, if you want to improve a team, you start with the defence. It's all about hard work when it comes to the defence. And sure, you might not be scoring goals, but if literally everybody on the team is running and tackling, doubling up on the opposition players and going for second balls, that's going to get you clean sheets. But fair enough. Obviously not entirely convincing. Even before Aubameyang got sent off, Crystal Palace had equalised. So that's the thing. Here is the biggest single important thing about playing FPL, right? It's not about recognising the good players. It's not about recognising the bad players. It's about recognising the predictable players. Yeah, yes. You can have that one for free.
I agree. I like that. I think that's a very good... Yeah, I think that's a very good point.
So, yeah, briefly, do we look at everybody at Watford? Obviously, James, you mentioned Ismaili Sarr before, and he's doing quite well. And he's yours for 5.
I like the look of Sarr as well, to be fair.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Deulofeu has been unlucky. I still think he's one to watch out for.
Yeah, he should have got something in that last game against Bournemouth. He really should. He'll be very disappointed with himself to come away with only 2 points for FPL. He's an outlet for Watford, I've noticed as well. Whenever they're under pressure, they give it to him. He holds it up really well and he can start attacks.
Yeah.
Obviously, Deeney's always capable of being dangerous and he takes penalties, which is also another string to his bow.
They were really missing him, you know.
Pardon?
They were missing him.
Watford?
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. But they were letting in too many goals. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they conceded 8 to Man City, wasn't it? I don't think Deeney would have made much of a difference if he'd been playing.
No.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say that obviously I've got Foster in and I'm quite happy with that. But I've been looking at some of their defenders as well. They're all less than 4.5 million at the moment. Cabasela is just coming back. I think you can have him for 4.3.
How much is Holibas?
I think Holibas is like 4.2, 4.1. Janmat is 4.1. Firmino is 4.1 or 4.2. And the guy they've got paying at the moment, Mariappa. He's Mariappa. You remember? You always used to get Mariappa in. He's like 4 million. And he's saving money, but he never played. Now he's playing, and he's playing in a defense that keeps clean sheets, and he's like 4.1. So I think there's gems to be had. Obviously, as well in midfield, you've got Doucouré now, and some of you may not have noticed this, but he used to play as a bit more of a deep line midfielder, but Pearson's playing him as practically as a number 10. He's got a decent shot on him. Obviously, he scored at the weekend. He gets forward really well. He links up really well, and I think he's like 6 million or something. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, maybe not. Fair enough. There are a lot of decent midfielders around that sort of price at the moment anyway. But like I'm saying, I think Watford's offering us up some gems. And even though their run is quite a mixed bag, the fact is they're playing really well. They know they've got to go for it because they need to get themselves out of trouble. You can bet, and from what I've seen, they're giving 100% every single game. As soon as Bournemouth got the ball in that game, Watford were just closing them out completely.
Yeah.
And admittedly, they might find it harder to do that against a team that attacks better, but the desire is there. So that's my eulogy to Watford and Pearson.
So no, Doucouré, he's been involved in the last 2 games for goals and assists. Same with Sarr with an assist, and then Deeney's been involved as well.
I mean, if you've got a bit to spend,
it's hard to pin down just one player, though, isn't it? That's what gets on my nerves.
What I'm saying is
you have the main player.
Yeah, I would say Sarr. Top of my list, if I was shopping for Watford players, would be Sarr. Because
agree.
They're value. That's the main thing. I mean, even if they're not going to play super well every week, the value is there. Particularly, if I move on to the next subject about how Europe is going to affect some of these teams, I am starting to get nervous about my Wolves assets, for example.
Oh, yeah, same.
Yeah.
I really want to ship Jimenez, but I don't want to bring Ings, so I'm a bit stuck for attackers.
For Ings is killing me, Derek.
Yeah, same.
Well,
they got next?
Wolves, I think they've got a sort of game next.
Come on, Jimenez.
They've got Southampton away.
Yeah.
So they could certainly get something there. I mean, Wolves are always capable of scoring, but they're not exactly blowing teams away.
No.
So obviously they had a slow start to the season with Europe. They got into their stride after a while. But when Europe comes back, it might knock them a little bit. We might see more rotation again a little bit. So I don't know. I'm keeping my eye on that. Obviously, Liverpool, Europe didn't really seem to bother them all that much. I mean, to win 20 of their 21 games, it's just mind-blowing. Man City, who knows? I mean, they're really starting to click, and obviously they look mouth-watering against Aston Villa. But are the problems going to return when they start having to do it in Europe again? Guys, do we have an opinion on that?
Oh, no. Sorry.
On Man City. Sorry, were you not able to hear me then, or?
No, yeah, I didn't hear the last part. So, yeah, in terms of them appearing in Europe.
I mean, obviously, Man City are playing well again. They look really good against Aston Villa. But when Europe kicks in, are we going to see the familiar sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Slightly off playing, slightly them being off form a little bit, the mistakes creeping back in, the wobbliness.
No, I think City looks City look solid at the moment. And I expect them to take that solid form into the European games as well. I think now that they know that the Premiership title is probably out of reach, they will look to go ham on Champions League.
So, my personal opinion on City, I got an opinion on City actually. I feel like Pep Guardiola, I think he's bored. I think he's very unhappy. But the thing is, the players, they want to keep him there. They still want to play for him, just like as if he was still, because they don't want another manager. So, for example, when they asked De Bruyne, like, how much preparation do you do before the Man United game? And he said that, we just had a 15-minute chat. People were laughing, saying that Man City didn't need to prepare that much for Manchester United. But the way I saw that is, why are you not preparing that much for a game? Like, it means you've lost your steam. You don't care about it as much anymore. I thought that was a bit concerning for any Man City fan, if you ask me.
Okay.
That's where he's at right now. Pardon?
That was a League Cup game, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but even though it was a League Cup game, I just still like back in the day, the old Pep, he would take that just as seriously. He took a lot of other games. He wouldn't
It's true,
go into that
actually.
game that way. So the
No.
fact that he's doing that, it just says a lot about where his head's at right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And what can you do about it? Everybody thinks he's the greatest manager ever. Like, no one's gonna like say to him, "Oh, you did that, so you're gonna get fired, or your job's on the line." No one's gonna say anything. Everyone's gonna just let him do what he wants.
Is he? I'll tell you what, though. I think Derek is making a good point, particularly because people have been saying this for a while now, and believe you me, it must get to Guardiola. People say that he can't win the Champions League unless he's got Messi in his team. So he's got a point to prove, hasn't he? And he may well ditch the Premier League just so he can pick up the Champions League and say, see, look, I could do it without... Actually, that was a terrible Guardiola accent. See, look, I could do it without Messi. That's what he's going to say.
But the thing is, yeah, like where I think that it becomes dangerous is that we've seen him before put his eggs all in one basket and stuff like that. Like if you watch the documentary when they were playing that Manchester United game and they wanted to win the league against Manchester United in their stadium, in Manchester Stadium, and they lost that game. Like the way Liverpool beat Barcelona in the Champions League that time, he seems like the type of guy that can get beat like that.
Look, I think you're forgetting who we're talking about. Yeah, like just because he's had a few bad games, don't get it twisted. This is Pep, right? And he's got the full force of City behind him as well. Like City on a good day will just obliterate 99% of the teams that I can think of. So it's like you can't think that they're going to be holding back in the Champions League. He's 100% going to go for it. And the players are in good form. Like the team has so much depth right now. It's unbelievable. Like Mahrez was sitting on the bench. Mahrez, can you imagine this? Mahrez has just come in now and he's doing a madness.
Yeah,
Silva come in just after his like ban or whatever. Did he score assist? I can't remember. I think he got an assist.
David Silva. I think
David, yeah. Was it David that got an assist or was it Bernardo Silva?
Actually, that's a good question.
It was David Silva that got an assist.
Yeah,
but David hasn't been playing as much anyway.
No, exactly. You're right, and they've still got Laporte to come back.
Yeah.
Mendy seems to have cemented his place in the team, although he's not quite as much of a gung-ho nutter as he was at the beginning of last season, which is a shame, but I've got my eye on him. I've got my eye on Mendy because he looks like he's back. And I'm so glad I didn't have any Man City defence for that last game because that must have killed people. You know, they're there winning 6-0. Anybody who happened to have any Man City defence, it's usually Edison, isn't it? They must have been thinking, yeah, we got this. And then Otamendi does his Otamendi thing, strips that guy up in the penalty area.
So they just need to sort that defence out, man.
Yeah, no, that's just mental. You know, obviously, Man City fans aren't going to care, but if you've got a Man City defender, you probably throw your laptop out of the window and send Pep Guardiola the bill. I know I would. I know I would have done.
You're all about to witness the monumental throwdown.
Anyway, shall we get on to player picks and predictions?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. All right. So if we look at the big old games coming up for Gameweek 23. So first of all, Saturday lunchtime, we've got Watford versus Spurs.
Watford Spurs. Okay.
I see Spurs winning this because they need a win, and Mourinho is going to be really harsh on them if they don't get this win.
Yeah.
It's not too far from them. It's not too far from home for them as well.
No, I have to say, I think Spurs were unlucky not to draw at the weekend. Because do you remember that chance when Aurier crossed it and Lo Celso, all he had to do was get his boot on it in the right place? That would have been and I thought it was in. I really did. Ooh. And apparently Spurs had 14 shots. Liverpool only had 13. So I think Spurs came away with some dignity from that defeat. Obviously, they still lost, but it's not like they got smashed to bits, was it? Having said that, Watford worked so hard. I have to say their defending against Bournemouth really impressed me. They were just all over the place. I thought there's no way they can keep that up for 90 minutes, but they did. I don't know what Pearson's doing there. I'm going to go for a score draw. Yeah.
I can understand where you're coming from, why you would say that.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to go for the Spurs victory because I just cannot see Mourinho letting Spurs lose that game. I just can't. He's going to be so mad if they lose it.
Yeah, well, they're not going to lose. I think they're just going to draw.
I think they'll win.
Okay. Then we've got Arsenal versus Sheffield United.
It's definitely a draw. That's a score draw for me.
Wow.
That's a win for Sheffield for me.
Wow. Do you know what? After all the crap I've been talking about Arsenal over the past couple of weeks, I seem to be the only one who thinks, again, I don't think Arteta is necessarily the answer, but I certainly saw a change in the way that Arsenal play. And I think eventually Sheffield United are going to remember that they're a promoted team and they just can't keep it up. And even though they play really well, I think they're still going to concede goals, and Arsenal are capable of scoring against anybody. Obviously, when they went to Bramall Lane, they couldn't manage it, which was quite embarrassing for them. Because off the top of my head, I think they had 70% possession in that game.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, that's just my long way of saying I think Arsenal might nick that one. I'm not 100% sure, but they might win it by a goal, the odd goal. Yeah. So there's a nice bit of variance in the predictions there. Sorry, what?
I was going to say, I think Man City are going to give Crystal Palace a hiding.
Definitely going to be a hiding.
But Bournemouth are going to get their first victory in a while.
Wait, I just want to say one last thing about Crystal Palace. They've got Tosin now, haven't they?
Oh, yeah, on loan.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. So,
but that's not going to change anything, make any difference.
It might be like 5-1 or 6-1 to Man City. You get up to like the 89th minute, will be a clean sheet. Then Tosin, or probably, to be honest, more likely you will kill their clean sheet, won't he?
Yeah. I believe that you could do it. I believe you could do that. But at the same time, I still see them scoring at least 5 goals. 4 minimum.
Well, it's a difficult one because Crystal Palace tend not to get smashed a bit. And if there's anything you get from a Roy Hodgson team, it's a well-organised defence.
But they've been doing too well over the last few games. And when they're doing too well like that, it means you become complacent. And I think the complacency is going to set in for them. I think now's the time.
They didn't win their last game, did they? In fact, I don't think they won either of their last 2 games, if I remember correctly, Crystal Palace.
This is Manchester City.
No, that's the point I'm making. They're not going to be complacent. Crystal Palace are not going to be complacent because they haven't won either of the last 2 games, if I remember correctly. And I will check. Yep, they drew against Arsenal and they drew against Norwich. So one game they conceivably should have won and one game they conceivably should have lost. I don't think they're going to be complacent. To cut the silence.
It's true. I don't know, but I just see them giving them a hiding. I just still see. Sometimes the team look okay, then all of a sudden they play Man City and they just look terrible.
Yeah,
City are going to destroy Palace. I don't know why we're even contemplating the thought that Palace can hold up.
Because Palace are not Aston Villa. Palace are not Watford when they were bad. Those are the teams that City have smashed. Okay. Yeah. A lot of other teams. Sorry.
No, go on. I was going to say, I agree they're not, but this is Manchester City and they're at home against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are a decent mid-table team, but City eat mid-table teams for breakfast and they eat top 6 teams for breakfast too, for lunch and dinner. So
when you City eat breakfast, that's it.
I just think that City are on a really, really good run at the moment. They're buzzing. The teams, like, if you've been watching the formation, Pep keeps changing it. He just keeps changing the players who are playing, and people are like, yeah, if I get the chance, I'm going to make my mark. And this is how all the players are at the moment.
But sometimes, I mean, okay, if you look at the teams that they thrashed this season, they thrashed West Ham, but then that was before Moyes. They thrashed Brighton, but then Brighton are an open team. They are not as defensively solid as Crystal Palace. They thrashed Watford, we've already mentioned that. They thrashed Aston Villa. They beat Burnley. God knows what's happened to their defence. They beat Arsenal, but then that was pre-Arteta and Arsenal don't defend. And then they thrashed Aston Villa. You really telling me that Crystal Palace defend as badly as all those teams, or did?
No. Of course not. Of course they don't. Yeah. Palace are going to camp.
And the last time they played Palace was only 2-0.
Yeah, they're going to try and play on a counter-attack against City, in my opinion. So they're going to try to have Zaha and Ayew break.
They might not even try to attack. They might just leave Tosin up there all on his own. And I mean, if you defend deep, you could keep Man City. Do you know what? I don't know why I'm Man City. Should we just move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on.
I'm showing my love for Palace. Anyway.
Yeah, showing love for Palace. Anyway. There's another game I want to point out as well, actually. Yeah. I think Bournemouth will get their first victory in a while. Bournemouth will get their first victory in a while, so that's good for them.
Who's going to score for Bournemouth, mate?
I think that Dominic Solanke is going to get a hat-trick.
my God!
Can we be serious, please?
Oh my God! I'm about to pass out.
You were saying Liverpool, the way Liverpool have done Bournemouth, yeah, with their the way Liverpool have done Bournemouth, yeah. So they sold Jordan Ibe, yeah, for 15 mil and Dominic Solanke for like 20, 30 mil or something like that. That is crazy, man.
Yeah. I
That
don't
would be
understand what happened
that
to
would be an
Jordan
interesting
Ibe.
game. I do think whoever wins is going to make a massive difference to the relegation table.
Do
Well,
you
not
know
massive
what?
difference, but it's going to make a difference.
Again, I have to go back to the game that Bournemouth had against Watford. They were just terrible.
They were
Completely bereft ideas. And when Watford hit them on the break or just even got bodies into the box, they just took Bournemouth apart. And to me, it's clear that they've got no confidence. And I didn't see any signs of recovery then. There might be signs of recovery against Norwich, but I still think that the form is bad enough for Norwich to come away from that game. Because we all know that Norwich are bad, but they still score goals. Although, admittedly, they don't have Pookie at the moment. But Canwell can still do the business. So I think that Norwich might win that one. You know, if we're talking about whipping boys, I think Bournemouth has joined the whipping boy club, frankly. They're whipping boys.
Yeah, they are.
Bournemouth
are
you
definitely
can take
with
Watford out, you can put Bournemouth in there.
Yeah, I swap Watford for Wolves.
100%. Yeah, I have spoken. Anyway.
The last game I think that we need to discuss that could go either way.
I know what you want to discuss, and we're going to talk about Newcastle versus Chelsea, so pipe down.
Before we get to that,
yeah.
Do we think West Ham and Everton will be an eventful one?
Actually, yeah. Obviously, you've got the return of Moyes.
Yeah.
And then both teams are resurgent, although see more evidence of a resurgence with Everton than we have with West Ham.
Yeah, but West Ham have a lot of potential as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see much of the West Ham game. What was their defending like? Because Richarlison's, looking dangerous again. Yeah, he's got more goals than Firmino.
I just don't see West Ham beat Everton because Ancelotti is just a better manager than Moyes. It's just not happening.
Yeah, but West Ham are at home.
I know, but that doesn't really mean much to West Ham.
I can't really call that one. I'd probably go with a draw.
I think that Sheffield United game would have knocked the stuffing out of West Ham a little bit. You know, some people can talk about fairness and unfairness, but I just say tough. Yeah, you didn't win. Get over it. So I reckon Everton are going to win that one. Okay, Newcastle v Chelsea.
Chelsea probably. They've played better on their away travels than they have at home, haven't they?
That's true, actually. I think Chelsea, but again... Actually, yeah, maybe Chelsea will have a comfortable victory. Their last game, they did win that comfortably, didn't they?
Yeah, even away from home, they seem to play quite well. They get results away.
And with Newcastle, I mean, generally speaking, they can hold their own against teams around them. But when the big boys come to town, it's usually too much for them to handle, isn't it?
Yeah.
They do have a good goalkeeper, though, has to be said. All right, and James, just for you, Burnley versus Leicester. Leicester, a top team.
I'm going with Burnley here.
God.
Hopefully, we should see a few goals from Leicester.
Leicester
they've been lacking in the goals area, which they haven't been all season. So
you know what? If you want to talk about teams in poor form, I think Burnley is one as well. I think Dyche has lost his touch a little bit there.
Yeah, but Burnley massively, and I'm trying to get rid of Pope ASAP.
Yeah, I was thinking about pulling the trigger on him for a long time, and then I just did it because I just couldn't stand it anymore. It was too much.
I just don't want to take a hit.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because the person you bring in, they really need to justify that hit, don't they?
Yeah, they need to get at least a clean sheet.
Yeah, so, James, you still don't think a 14-point lead is good enough? You think of only Leicester. Okay.
Here's the thing, yeah. When you got 94 points and haven't won the league, there's no such thing as a point that's good enough that you've won. You keep going until you win.
Yeah, but we're talking about Leicester here.
Oh,
okay.
14.
Why are Leicester so all of a sudden going to lose with Burnley? They turned up to Newcastle. They had
I was joking.
9 times. Oh, okay.
I wasn't serious.
All right. Then. Okay,
I do not think Leicester. I don't think Burnley have a standing chance.
I think that's a foregone conclusion there. Something's happened at Burnley. They're just going to have to bend over and take it from Leicester.
Yes, indeed.
You're all about to witness a monumental throwdown.
All right, then. So, the one you've been waiting for. Every season, you're convinced that this is going to be a good game. But a lot of the time, games between big teams aren't usually that good. But go ahead.
Yeah,
Tell
be
me what the score is
defensive.
going to
Be
be.
defensive. I can't wait for this game. I can't wait for it. I just really can't wait for it. Can't.
It
Just want
might.
to
It
win it.
could
So
be a
bad.
could be a snooze fest. You know.
It probably will be, but I just want to see
Just because
Liverpool
like
beat United. It's that
it's,
simple.
these are two juggernauts of the English game with massive and massive of history behind them, and it's going to get hyped up like nothing you've ever seen on Sky Sports. Liverpool, Man United, Super Sunday, Super Sunday,
It's
Super
what
Sunday.
matters.
1-0 to Liverpool. Anyway, Derek.
I reckon it's going to be another tight one, like the Tottenham game. We're probably going to win 1-0. Liverpool probably going to win 1-0. But I either see a win for Liverpool or a draw. Hopefully a win, but it's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight. So yeah.
Yeah. You know, I was going to say a Liverpool win, but the Man United attack is showing a bit of form. And even though I haven't made up my mind on whether to keep Rashford or not, I can see him scoring.
So the problem with the United attack is United are good at attacking when they dominate the other team's midfield. So they've got the opportunity to play the ball and get balls through to Rashford and Martial.
Yeah.
Liverpool are going to dominate them in every single position, in my opinion, especially in the midfield. I've been watching some highlights from their previous games.
It's likely, but all it takes is one set piece, and they do have decent set piece takers at Man United.
I'll tell you what I think will make the difference in this one. I think the Man United attack will get really bullied by the Liverpool defence, like really, really bullied. They'll be very rough on them.
No,
Barging,
I don't know
pushing.
if you've forgotten, but at Old Trafford, Rashford had no problem at all dealing with your dad, Van Dijk.
Yeah, but James had a big problem.
He laid
getting
that
knocked
guy
over.
on his back.
He laid him out.
That guy on his backside twice. You cannot tell you did not remember that.
I honestly don't think the United attacking forwards are going to get a chance to even have more than 3 or 4 shots.
This is Anfield, by the way. This is Anfield.
Yeah, because I do
Anfield.
think Liverpool are going to do what they did when they played against Tottenham and just dominate the ball possession. As soon as they lose the ball, like you said, they're going to have 2 or 3 players hunting in packs to win that ball back, and then they're just going to recycle and go again. United are not going to have a chance, and especially with the added touch with Gomez on the squad is that he's got a lot of pace. He can drop behind. If it's a long ball, Van Dijk can win the header. If it's a ball which is being played behind, Gomez can make the run as well. So they do have a really good combo going on right now. But I just reckon it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be a case of cat and mouse.
Maybe so. All I'm saying is don't be surprised if Rashford, even if he doesn't score, don't be surprised if he makes a fool out of 1 or 2 of the Liverpool defenders. That's all I'm saying.
We'll see.
Right.
That's not a victory.
It'll be an interesting game regardless.
Right. Okay. Actually, James, you going to watch that Anywhere special?
It's on Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Are
you on it? No, I don't mind, man.
Do something. We'll cross that bitch when we get to it. All right. Play pick.
Sorry?
Guys, play it.
Play
All
right, who's going first?
I'll go first because I think I've got the least knowledge out of you guys at the moment. So, Danny Ings.
Okay.
Danny Ings is the first pick, I'd say. The second pick I'm going for, not for this game, but for the games afterwards, I'll start having a look at Marcus Rashford.
Okay.
Is that just 2? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
I normally only manage 2 anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll probably go for Morpay against Aston Villa for Brighton.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's due. That's just it. I've just got a gut feeling that he's due to score. So that's.
I was just going to say, having said that, I did read somewhere that he's taking a lot less shots now than he was at the beginning of the season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
it's Aston Villa, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did we mention them as whipping boys as well? Let's add them to the whipping boy club.
Aston Villa.
Although it's quite obvious.
It's a bit early.
I really disagree that Aston Villa
they concede a lot of shots.
They do.
But they're dangerous.
Even if they're scoring, even if they're winning games, you're probably going to get a goal against them. And like now, who have they got in goal? Pepe Reina.
Yeah. He's good.
He is good, but it's like been a while for him, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has, but he's Pepe Reina, man.
And like,
my second player pick is going to be Maddison for Leicester against Burnley.
Fair enough.
I just think he's pretty much the playmaker on the team, and they need to get back to their winning ways. They can certainly do that against Burnley. And he's taking on the set pieces. He gets a lot of the ball. So I think I'd probably see him outscoring Vardy this week, to be fair. But that's just my opinion. And then my final player pick is Mo Salah, for obvious reasons.
Mo Salah. Okay. Right. First of all, I'm going to go for Bernd Leno in the Arsenal goal. And this is kind of more of a long-term look at it anyway. But as I said before, I think Arsenal are looking like they can keep a clean sheet. And although Sheffield United can score goals, they don't exactly blow teams away. And like the goals come from all over. It's not like they've got like a target man or anyone who does the business for them. So if any of them don't really feel like scoring, there's somebody they can always rely on, is there? So I think Bernd Leno, good shout to keep a clean sheet. Secondly, and probably lastly, knowing me, I've got to say, I like the look of Felipe Anderson at West Ham. I really do. It looks like Moyes is kind of playing him as a number 10. So even though in the game he's listed as a midfielder, if he's practically playing up front, then he gets an extra point for a goal. It's all good. He's starting to look like the player that he was in bits. Last season, he had some good spells, and I think he's coming into a good spell now. He's looked dangerous in his last couple of games. Obviously, he scored when they won 4-0 against, was it Newcastle? And he has some decent chances in his last games. So, yeah, that is about it, unless you're going to force the third one out of me. I can't do it.
No, two's fine. Two's absolutely fine. I've got one thing I just wanted to mention. Are there going to be any shock results? I just want you guys to mention one, if you can think.
Okay.
So I'll let you go first, Kojo. Think of any shock results this week coming?
Okay. If there is going to be a shock result, I think Newcastle are capable of pulling off a shock, actually.
Okay.
Because they're at home and they did it against Man United. If their heads are all in the right place and Chelsea huff and puff like they do sometimes, a shock result. Newcastle might just surprise Chelsea because they've been wobbling a little lately as well.
Interesting.
James?
The only shock result I think is possible of happening is the Sheffield United Arsenal.
Okay.
It's the only one I think is,
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think the same. The Sheffield United Arsenal one. I mean, Arsenal are at home. They should be winning this, but Sheffield United are so disciplined and defensively disciplined. I just think that it's going to be difficult for Arsenal to break them down, and they might just nick one. So yeah, we'll see.
True. All right then. I think we'll leave it there then, fellas.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for taking part in the pod, taking the time out to take part and share your thoughts. I appreciate it. Also hope that everyone who's been listening has enjoyed this episode, and hopefully you'll all tune in the next one. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. And so all that's left for me to say is that's a goodbye.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Take care.